Intro. The internet is loud. Every day, we scroll through endless feeds, arguments, opinions, distractions that pull us in 100 different directions. But once in a while, something unexpected happens. A single sentence, written almost 2,000 years ago, stops everything. The noise fades, the comments pause, and millions of people sit in silence, struck by the power of words they never thought could still matter today. That's the thing about Stoicism. It isn't just dusty philosophy buried in old books, it's raw, practical wisdom that still speaks louder than the chaos of the modern world. The Stoics lived in a time of war, plague, and political turmoil, and yet their words cut straight to the human condition. Fear, anger, desire, mortality. They didn't write to impress, they wrote to survive. And that survival wisdom has suddenly found new life in the age of social media. In this video, we're diving into 8 Stoic quotes that silenced the internet, not because they're trendy, but because they're true. Quotes that shook millions out of their scrolling habits and forced them to reflect on life, death, time, and meaning. Before we begin, make sure you hit subscribe to Legacy of Thinkers. This is where we bring timeless wisdom into today's world, so you can live with more clarity, courage, and peace. Ready? Let's step into the silence these quotes created. Quote 1. Marcus Aurelius. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Marcus isn't threatening you. He's handing you a compass. Mortality isn't morbid, it's clarifying. When you remember time as a vanishing asset, small annoyances shrink and the essential snaps into focus. Use it as a filter. Do. If today were your last ordinary day, would you still do this task? Then do it well. If not, cut it, ship the draft, send the message, start the thing you keep postponing. Say, speak words you'd be proud to have as your last. Honest, kind, precise. Don't scorch a bridge you might never cross again. Don't flatter when truth would help. Think, guard your inner monologue. Trade resentment for responsibility, gossip for gratitude, panic for preparation. Your thoughts are the blueprint of your final day, and every day. Put it on the ground. Call the person you've been avoiding. Apologize without the but. Eat like you owe your body tomorrow. Work like your name will stay on the work. Scroll less. Look more. Leave the room a little better than you found it. Memento mori isn't about fear, it's about focus. When time is scarce, meaning is rich. Let this be the quiet rule behind everything. Do the next right thing. Say the needed thing. Think the truest thing. If life ended mid-sentence, let the sentence you're writing, your actions, your words, your thoughts, be worth the full stop. Quote 2. Seneca. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca wasn't exaggerating. He was describing the mental prison most of us build for ourselves. Think about it. How many nights have you lost sleep over a conversation that never happened? How many hours have you wasted worrying about a future that never came true? Our minds are powerful storytellers, but too often, They write tragedies that life itself never performs. Fear multiplies in silence. A delayed text becomes rejection. A frown becomes betrayal. A quiet office becomes proof you're about to be fired. The truth? 90% of those imagined disasters never arrive. Yet our bodies still pay the price. Racing heartbeat, tight chest, sleepless nights. The Stoics remind us, pain is hard enough when it's real. Don't rehearse it in advance. When the storm actually comes, you'll meet it with clarity, not exhaustion. The practice is simple. Catch the story you're telling yourself. Ask, do I know this for certain? Or am I inventing fear? Most times, you'll find you're fighting shadows. Real suffering deserves your strength. Imagined suffering only steals it. Seneca's wisdom is a challenge. Reclaim your energy. Live in what is, not in what if. The present may not be perfect, but it's lighter than the weight of 10,000 possible futures that will never come. Quote 3. Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus lived this truth. He was born a slave, crippled by abuse, stripped of status. Yet he became one of the most respected philosophers in history. His life proves the point. Events may shape the stage, but you decide the performance. Think about your own life. Two people can face the same setback, a lost job, a breakup, a failure, and walk away with two completely different stories. One collapses, convinced life is over. The other adapts, grows sharper, and uses the pain as fuel. Same event, different response. The difference isn't fortune, it's choice. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you free yourself. You don't choose the storm, but you choose how you sail through it. Anger, despair, blame, those are options, not inevitabilities. Courage, patience, resilience, they're options too. So the Stoic practice is this: pause between event and reaction. That small gap is your freedom. Instead of firing back in rage, breathe. Instead of drowning in self-pity, ask, what's within my power right now? That single shift transforms victims into victors. Epictetus challenges us. Don't waste your life screaming at fate. Master your reaction, and you master yourself. And when you master yourself, no outside event, not cruelty, not loss, not chaos, can take your peace away. Quote 4. Marcus Aurelius. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the world, yet he gave himself rules as simple as a child's. Why? Because power tempts us to bend the truth and justify what we know is wrong. Marcus knew integrity doesn't need footnotes, it needs clarity. We live in an age of noise, fake news, half-truths, and casual dishonesty. People lie to protect their image, cut corners to get ahead, or stay silent when they should speak. Marcus offers a blunt antidote. Before you act, ask, is this right? Before you speak, ask, is this true? 2 questions. That's it. And if the answer is no, the path is clear. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. A person who does what's right, even when it costs them, is rare. A person who speaks only truth, even when silence is easier, is unforgettable. Integrity may not trend on social media, but it outlasts trends. So apply it today. Don't sign the deal if it feels crooked. Don't speak words you wouldn't want repeated at your funeral. Don't post just to impress. Post because it's real. Each choice becomes a brick in the house of your character. Marcus reminds us, morality isn't complicated. If it isn't right, step back. If it isn't true, stay silent. The world is already heavy with falsehood. Be the rare weight of honesty. Quote 5. Seneca. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Seneca's words sting because they're true. Most of us act as if life is endless, scrolling, complaining, postponing, waiting for the right time. Then one day, we look back and realize years vanished, not because they were too few, but because we treated them like spare change. Time is the one currency you can't earn back. You can rebuild wealth after failure, repair health after neglect, even mend relationships after conflict. But no one has ever recovered a lost year. Every wasted morning, every distracted evening, every just 5 more minutes compounds into decades gone. Seneca isn't urging us to panic. He's urging us to wake up. Stop measuring life by how long it is and start measuring by how alive it feels. One honest conversation can outweigh months of small talk. One focused hour on your craft can matter more than a week of half-hearted effort. One day lived fully is worth more than a year lived blindly. So ask yourself, if your schedule were audited like your finances, where would the leaks be? How many hours are spent in envy, fear, or distraction? How many are invested in growth, love, or purpose? The truth is sobering, but liberating. Life is not short. It only feels short when we waste it. Treat time as sacred, and suddenly, even ordinary days stretch into eternity. Quote 6. Epictetus. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus understood something we often forget. Freedom isn't about wealth, status, or breaking rules. It's about discipline. A man ruled by his impulses is not free. He's chained to them. Anger snaps its fingers, and he obeys. Cravings whisper, and he gives in. Fear shows up, and he retreats. From the outside he may look powerful, but inside, he's a prisoner. True freedom begins with self-mastery. It's the ability to say no when temptation knocks, to stay calm when provoked, to choose your response instead of being dragged by instinct. That kind of freedom can't be bought, and no one can steal it from you. Look at history. Emperors enslaved by paranoia, billionaires addicted to more, leaders undone by pride. They had everything the world calls freedom, yet they weren't free at all. Contrast that with someone who governs himself, who controls his desires, his time, his tongue. He may have little, but he cannot be owned. The practice is daily. Delay gratification. Question your impulses. Pause before reacting. Each moment of control is a small victory. and together they build the only kingdom worth ruling, yourself. Epictetus's challenge is sharp. If you want freedom, don't chase power, chase mastery. Because the man who rules himself is the only man no master, no tyrant, no chaos can ever conquer. Quote 7. Marcus Aurelius. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, commanded armies, and faced plagues and betrayal. Yet he reminds us, happiness isn't shaped by circumstances, but by the lens through which we see them. Your mind is the factory of your experience. Feed it bitterness, envy, and fear, and life feels like a prison. Feed it gratitude, clarity, and discipline, and even hardship becomes bearable. Think of it like tending a garden. If you plant weeds, resentment, comparison, self-pity, they spread fast and choke everything good. But if you plant seeds of focus, courage, and perspective, you harvest resilience and joy. The external world may change daily, but your inner garden is always yours to cultivate. Modern life makes this harder. Every scroll shoves comparison in your face. Every headline screams panic. Every ad whispers, "You're not enough." If you let those voices dominate your thoughts, don't be surprised when happiness feels distant. The Stoic practice is to take back control. Filter what you allow in, and sharpen what you allow to grow. So ask yourself, what thoughts are shaping my day right now? Are they lifting me or dragging me down? Happiness isn't delivered by fate. It's built by thought, moment by moment. Marcus's reminder is radical in its simplicity. If you want a better life, start by choosing better thoughts. Quote 8. Seneca. Who is brave is free. Seneca's line is short, but it slices deep. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want. But if fear dictates your choices, you're not free. You're shackled. Fear of failure keeps you in a job you hate. Fear of judgment keeps you silent when you should speak. Fear of loss keeps you from loving fully. In every case, fear is the jailer, and courage is the key. Bravery doesn't mean reckless risk. It means acting according to your values even when fear whispers otherwise. It's sending the application though rejection looms. It's telling the truth though your voice shakes. It's choosing to love even though loss is guaranteed someday. That's the paradox. The more courage you show, the more space life gives you to live authentically. History proves this. Socrates, facing death, chose truth over escape. Rosa Parks, sitting on that bus seat, chose dignity over silence. Everyday people choose bravery too. Quitting addictions, walking away from toxic relationships, raising children with patience despite exhaustion. Each act of courage tears down invisible walls. Seneca's wisdom is timeless. Freedom isn't granted by laws or governments. It's claimed in the moment you stop letting fear run your life. Be brave in small things today, and you'll find yourself freer than kings who bow to their own fears. Outro. The internet may go silent when it encounters Stoic wisdom, but your life doesn't have to. These 8 quotes aren't just ancient words, they're tools. tools for clarity when the world is noisy, tools for courage when fear tries to trap you, tools for focus when time feels like it's slipping away. So now I want to turn this over to you. Which of these Stoic quotes hit you the hardest? Was it Seneca's warning about wasted time? Epictetus's reminder that freedom is self-mastery? Or Marcus Aurelius's call to guard your thoughts? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear which one speaks to your life right now. And if you found even one of these ideas valuable, take a second to like this video. It helps more people discover the wisdom the internet desperately needs. Share it with someone you know who's stuck in distraction or weighed down by fear. They might find the same clarity you did. Most importantly, don't leave without subscribing to Legacy of Thinkers. This channel exists to bring timeless philosophy into modern life, practical, honest, and real. Together, we're building a community of people who don't just consume wisdom but live it. So join us, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and let's keep walking this path side by side. Because the quotes may have silenced the internet, but here, we keep the conversation alive.